there is a tribute to the boys on there, but I don't think it's the same one that I've seen before. It was, sorry, just looking up there, I thought I'd seen a spider on the roof. You would have seen a proper freak out on the channel if that had been the case. Hey legends, welcome along to another Laurel and Hardy review here in Coins Age Media. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. This one here is Bacon Grabbers from 1929. This movie is, oh gosh, this is so good. Of course, Laurel and Hardy stars Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, along with Edgar Kennedy. Brilliant in this movie, by the way. Jean Harlow pops up as his wife at the end of the film. Harry Bernard is in here as a policeman. Eddie Baker as a sheriff. Then there's Bobby Doon, Charlie Hall, and Sam Lufkin as just little bit parts in the background. Basically, in this movie, Stan and Ollie play a couple of law enforcement officers from the sheriff's office that are tasked with the duty of serving papers on Edgar Kennedy for not keeping up payments on a radio. And, you know, the setup to this movie at the beginning of them leaving the sheriff's office to go to Kennedy's house is funny enough on its own. A few slapstick moments there. We get a routine of like the hat mix-up sort of a deal again. An earlier version of that, again, as I said in the last review here for Laurel and Hardy, in the old silent movies, you see like the earlier attempts at the polished jokes that we would have seen later in their career. You get that as we're leaving the office, but the genuine, real comedy does not kick off really until they get to the house where Edgar Kennedy lives. As they try to actually, the only way they can enforce the law essentially is that they serve the papers into his hand. Like, they can't just put it through the door like a postman. They actually have to physically hand the paper to the person that they're, you know, serving the law to. There's at least 10 minutes of the film that are dedicated to that on its own. There's a part where they're trying to, like, he realizes what they're going to do, so he goes to hide in the house. So whenever they go to the door to try and get him to answer it again, he answers with a fake dog, basically. And it comes to the door of this thing, and it's just, you see mouth and teeth of this thing going and scares the life out of them, and they run off. But it's obviously a fake dog, but I think it was just a prop that didn't look real, you know. And they just wanted to have a freaky, scary looking dog there. But, you know, this thing here, they don't even attempt to make it look like a real dog. So I think it's just something that he had in the house to freak people out, to get them away. But Stan and Ollie come across this kid walking this huge dog. And Oliver asks, is this dog vicious? And the kid's like, you know, I'll say as I feed him raw meat. So Oliver decides to try and use this dog to go after Kennedy. So he goes to answer the door, and again Kennedy comes out to this thing, and it freaks the dog out, and it runs, and we see a shot looking down the driveway of this house, and the dog tears down it, and Oliver is getting trailed up the middle of the footpath by the dog. So flipping well done. You know, obviously it wasn't a real person getting dragged behind this dog. It was a fake bloke built for this movie. But the design of this thing was just all over through and through. It really did look like it was him getting trailed up the pathway, but, you know, it obviously wasn't. But I laughed so flipping hard at that point. The whole cat and mouse game around the house trying to get this paper into Kennedy's hand is absolutely brilliant. Once they do achieve that, Kennedy kind of just laughs in their face and he goes, well, that's service, boys, but, you know, try and get the radio. You know, serving the papers is only one part of the job. They have to actually physically get the radio remove it from his house now. But he slams the door in their face, and Stan and Ollie try to find a way of getting into the house. So they look across the street, there's a house being built, and they decide, we'll take this ladder and try and get up through an open window at the top of Kennedy's house. So they nick the ladder from this house being built across the street. At that point, there's a guy on the roof of this house trying to come down the ladder, and of course the ladder's not there. He falls down into this big vat of paint, and that's the last we see of him, nor little bit part character. So Oliver and Stanley go back to the side of the house, prop up the ladder, try and climb up to the window, but the ladder is not tall enough for the job. So at one point, Stanley's at the top of this ladder. Oliver lifts the ladder up, and he has it propped against his waist to try and give it a bit of extra height. So he's holding this ladder. Stanley's at the top of the ladder, trying to reach the window. Kennedy comes to it. He's got this big long like feather duster sort of a thing, and he's trying to push Stanley off the ladder with it. And while this is happening, Oliver's braces on his trousers snap and fall down behind him, and another little dog that's passing by sees these hanging down behind Oliver, and it runs across, grabs hold of him, and it's yanking at them. So Oliver is getting yanked with this dog, holding the ladder. Stanley's at the top, Kennedy's above him with his feather duster, and then he comes out with a shotgun at the end of it, and he's trying to take Stanley out on top of this ladder. And as he fires off the shot, he blows a fire hydrant apart across the road, and there's a policeman standing. He gets absolutely soaked with water, and he comes across, gets involved in the whole thing. Stan and Ollie explain the situation to him. You know, we're trying to serve papers to get this radio off. This guy hasn't kept up with his payments and whatnot. So the policeman steps in at the end of the day, backs Stan and Ollie up, gets the radio out of the house, and they carry it out, set it in the street, and Kennedy, in defeat, runs across, kicks Oliver in the butt, and walks away. Stan and Ollie decide to take revenge on him. They run across so Oliver can kick Kennedy in the butt, and as he kicks Kennedy, Stanley kicks Ollie. So it's one of these proper slapstick movies. At this point, as in the random life of Laurel and Hardy, anything can happen in these movies. A steamroller turns up out of the middle of nowhere, takes out the radio, squashes it flat. Kennedy starts laughing. He's like, there's your radio now, guys. You know, try and get Havana on it now. And at this point, his wife, Jean Harlow, turns up, and she's got the receipt for the radio. She's just paid for it. So it turns out the radio did belong to Kennedy all along. So that's the boys' turn for a laugh now. So they start laughing, pointing at the radio in the street and pointing at Kennedy. It's like, ha ha ha. And again, another random steamroller turns up out of the middle of nowhere and takes out Stan and Ollie's Model T Ford in the middle of the street, squashes it flat, and that's where the movie ends off. Basically, this is an absolutely epic little short film from Laurel and Hardy, and one I had seen the majority of before. There is a compilation best of Laurel and Hardy film on YouTube. I don't believe it's part of this box set. There is, on the last disc, there is a tribute to the boys on there, but I don't think it's the same one that I've seen before. It was, sorry, just looking up there, I thought I'd seen a spider on the roof. You would have seen a proper freak out on the channel if that had been the case. Yes, there was a compilation best of called The Crazy World of Laurel and Hardy, I believe the name of it was. I seen it originally years ago. It was aired around about 1983, 84. I was just a small child at the time. That was my introduction to Laurel and Hardy. This movie was basically, not the whole thing was shown in it, but you know, this last chunk of them trying to serve the papers and get the radio off Kennedy was shown in it. So I had seen that part of it before, but the opening I hadn't seen at this stage. But this, honestly, if you are a stranger to Laurel and Hardy movies and you want to check out something swift and quick to give you a little introduction into the world of Laurel and Hardy, Bacon Grabbers is definitely the way forward. This is actually a really, really good movie, and it's worth every second of it. It's so good. I never knew the name of it before. As I say, I've seen it countless times over the years in that compilation movie, but never knew the name of it until I sat down now to check it out on this disc. Absolutely brilliant.